Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sipping Wealth Live, where I bring you news, tips, and tricks on how to wealth up. Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to go over accounting essentials. So, I've been dealing with a lot of business owners that don't have accounting procedures at all, books all over the place, don't even have bookkeeping in place, or don't even know where to start. Maybe you're a new business owner, maybe you're an existing business owner, and you're like, oh, I know I need help on the financial side, but I don't really know where to start. So, this live is specifically for you. I'm going. So thank you for those that are tuned in with me. Go ahead and drop a hey girl, something in the comment section so I know who's tuned in with me. And then make sure that you hit the share button so that we're not wealthing up solo by ourselves, but we're bringing our friends, families, loved ones, all that good stuff on the journey with us. And then and yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get it cracking into the topic, y'all. Okay. Hey, I just know when it says Facebook user, it's coming out of the Sipping Wealth Facebook group because something about that group it just doesn't like showing. Maybe because it's a private group, showing who's writing me. But hey, thank you for tuning in. All right, let's get in here. I'm gonna go over some tips, some procedures, some things that you as a business owner need to make sure that you're doing on the financial side of your business, the accounting side, to make sure you're streamlining. Because while you're in business to make impact and to make money, the only way you're going to stay in business is if you keep on making sure that you're generating the amount of money necessary for you to stay in business. So, this is an important factor. As much as I know business owners, we get so caught up in the operations, the day to day, working in the business, or maybe you got into business because you're passionate about something. But you cannot negate the financial side of the business because that's how you're going to stay in business. Okay, if you let this fly by, then count your days, baby, because mm, it's not gonna be long. So we're gonna make sure that you stay in business for a long time, not a short time, and that you are true to this. All right. So for starters, when you're starting a business, I know you've heard it before. Make sure that you have separate bank accounts. Y'all, make sure. Knowledge. Thank you. All right, big, huge, because y'all still out here co-mingling your personal, your business. You created an LLC because you want to separate things, or you created an LLC for protection against, lawsuits, litigation, things like that. But you're mixing your personal and your business stuff together. When you do that, it essentially removes the corporate veil. So that whole limited liability shield that you have on your business, it means nothing. You might as well have just a regular EIN number and that's it without an LLC if you're going to commingle your personal and your business financials together. Because having an LLC, it doesn't make it any different. It's you're running your business like a hobby, like a sole proprietor. If you're commingling your finances like that, your business stuff. Also, when it comes to the IRS, when it comes to other agencies, lawsuits, whatever the case may be, when you commingle your business and your personal like that, what ends up happening is if you're in a lawsuit, if the IRS is looking at stuff, we'll talk about lawsuit first. You're in a lawsuit. Oh my gosh, your business is getting sued. What ends up happening is your business and you personally are getting sued. Why? Because they can't tell the difference between you and your business because you got it all mixed in one. We cannot tell. So you want to make sure that you have separate bank accounts, separate everything. You're paying yourself separately. If it's just a single member LLC, you can do transfers, but don't $20 here, $50 here, $500 here. Don't do that. Oh, I'm taking the dog to the vet. Pull out the business card. Don't do that. But you can say, hey, I'm going to pay myself $1,000 this week and transfer $1,000 to your personal account to pay yourself from your business. And this is for single member LLCs. I'm talking to y'all. Or sole proprietors, 1099 people. So contractors with businesses. You can do the transfer route. You don't have to do W-2 if you're a single member LLC. but you don't want to do bits and pieces here and there. You want to do one big transfer that's going to cover your bills for the week, for the 2 weeks, whatever. All right, we got a question. What's your thoughts on having multiple accounts within your business account? For example, main expense, payroll, commission, savings. Yeah, that's great. So, and you're probably kind of hinting at Profit First book, maybe. Because I know a lot of people have been reading that book, and here's like, yeah, you gotta have 5 different accounts, operating account, pop, pop, pop. But I think having multiple bank accounts within your business is great because it essentially has you working a bucket method where you make sure each bucket is being poured into so that nothing gets missed. So, for example, payroll. You want to make sure you have enough to pay your employees every time. You don't want to be like, oh shoot, I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul because I don't have enough to cut for payroll. Your main expenses, you want to make sure that that's done. Savings, you want to make sure that's to the side. You want to make sure you have a taxes account. There's actually a number 5 in there for taxes. Okay, so you want to make sure you have a taxes account. I want to make sure, hey, like when the IRS come knocking, or at the end of the year, or every quarter, I have the amount of money necessary to go ahead and send off to the Department of Revenue, to the IRS, whoever needs to get paid, so that I don't have to stress on, oh my gosh, I didn't pay my sales tax and the money's gone. I didn't, I couldn't do my estimated tax payments because I spent all the money. So you want to have a tax account. Yes, payroll account. Commissions is not really one of the accounts on the thing. I don't know what your commissions account is for, but you can explain that. I don't know why you have a commissions account. Oh, and then I have a whole different account for my marketing budget. Yes, marketing budget. That is completely fine. Yes, because we need a marketing budget. A lot of business owners miss this. You need a sales marketing budget because that's how you're going to scale. Um, I have a sales team. That's why I have a commissions account. Okay, so your commissions account is kind of like how your payroll. That's what it's kind of sounding like. Your payroll and your commissions are kind of like the same people, in a sense. But yeah, that's fine. You can have your multiple accounts because it makes sure that you don't negate those expenses, those things that need to be covered. Um, yeah, I like the multiple buckets, multiple accounts, but you don't want to make it so where you forgot to transfer and now you're getting hit with overdraft fees. If you can't maintain the multiple account method, start with 3. Start with 3 and then add another account. Start and then you want to start with 3 and then a savings account because you always want to make sure you have the savings. And then you want to maybe so you don't dip out of those the savings account. Maybe you want to set that savings account somewhere else at another bank, and you're like transferring externally to that other bank, so you're not touching that savings account. Whatever you have to do to make sure you have that bucket. I like it. Hopefully that answers the question. But yes, separate accounts. Does it make bookkeeping a little challenging? The only thing is making sure everything is synced up, making sure you actually have track record of all the accounts that you have, and you didn't lose. You're like, oh, should I open up these accounts and I have no money in them, and I'm paying account fees or bank fees for not having the minimum balance in the account. Like, you don't want to get into that either. So make sure that you have enough money that's actually funneling those accounts, and you're not getting charged these bank fees just because you want to have multiple accounts opened up. You can start smaller and then start adding in more accounts as you grow. That's fine. But you do want to make sure you at least have your operating account, a tax account, and a savings account at minimum. Because those are and then you want to once you start adding employees and stuff like that, you want to add your payroll account, and then go from there. We have to connect ASAP. Yes. Later, I'm gonna see who this is later when I go into the group, because it just says Facebook user to me. But hey, yes, we shall connect. All right. Okay. Next is accounting software. Get a reliable accounting software. You don't have to do the hard way. You don't have to try and stretch your brain and create this fancy dancy Excel sheet or do a bunch of pen and paper. I'm writing down all my sales and I'm writing down all my inventory. Look, technology is here for a reason. Okay. To make your life easier. So go ahead and utilize technology and make your life easier. Okay. My last live last week, I went over a bunch of different softwares that you can go ahead and implement. So you can check out the live from last week. Just in spur of the moment, as far as this live, if your QuickBooks is the number one software for small business owners, they've been holding that title since God knows when. It's been a while. Okay. But you also do QuickBooks have a mini version, like a cheaper a version of their software. You can do Simple Start. You can even do FreshBooks. FreshBooks is like a cheaper version of your QuickBooks, but it's going to be kind of like more simplified. Like you're not going to be able to track your mileage and all that through that software like QuickBooks. But it's a start. But get an accounting software, y'all. Stop playing. All right. Next is to make sure that you're reconciling your accounts. Make sure that and what does that mean? Make sure that what's going through your bank's statements is the same thing that's actually going through your QuickBooks or your accounting software. Make sure you're going through your transactions, because it happens time and time again where I'm meeting with a business owner and they're, for the first time, they're like, oh my gosh. For example, I had a client call me and they're like, hey, I had all these charges from DoorDash and I don't use DoorDash. So without them actually making sure that they're going over their bank statements and stuff like that, they would have never caught that error. So for 2 months, they were actually getting charged by DoorDash, and somebody had taken the debit card or whatever the case may be, been running up DoorDash, living Moss. But if they're not actually going and reconciling, taking a look at their bank statements and things like that, you're not going to catch those errors. And I'm just using that for an example. So there are tons of times where you're getting charged and you're not catching these things. And months go by and you're already out of the 90-day period. And now you're stuck and they're like, oh, we can only refund the last 2 months, type stuff. So you want to make sure that you're reconciling, you're taking a look at these records so that you can identify any discrepancies, any fraudulent transactions, all that as quick as possible. A lot of credit cards only give you 60 days. A lot of banks only give you 90 days. So if you don't catch it within those 2 months, like your money's gone. So that's why you want to make sure you're looking at this stuff regularly. All right, or having someone that is doing it. With my bookkeeping clients, we meet every month. So they meet with the bookkeeping team every month, depending on the package. We do strategy sessions throughout the year. Like you want to make sure that, and that's the time where my business owners are taking out that hour to look at their numbers for strategy purposes, for making sure that things are accurate, for making sure, my supplies look inflated this month. What's going on? Let me look into that. Is that supposed to be that way? Did I really spend $1,200? What's in there? So, this is your time to actually set aside and make sure that you're catching these errors. Tracking expenses categorically. So I kind of hinted at that. Supplies, your travel, your meals, your office, just said supplies, your advertising. So you want to track it by category because you want to see that, okay, I spent $5,000 on advertising this month. Oh, what is that? What is that for? Or how did it become that much? I want to look into that. Or, hey, I know why that is. I want to make sure that in those following months, it's this number. So this is going to hit your target, making sure that you hit your targeted goals. All right. So, make sure that you categorize your expenses. Business, a lot, like, especially during tax time, business owners will come and I'm like, how are you tracking your expenses for your business? And they go, I have I have everything go through the business bank account. Everything's in there. I only use the business card for my business. We still don't know how much you spent on supplies. We don't know how much you spent on advertising. Everything's jumbled up. We don't like you still got to go in and categorize everything and figure out okay, how much did you spend in each category. It's a start. It helps identify and make sure it's a start now that everything's in one place. It's in your business bank account, but you still got to categorize everything. And waiting until tax time to do that makes it very stressful. So why not do that throughout the year? And then also making sure that you're doing that throughout the year helps with goal setting. If you're not doing this throughout the year, then 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, you're not hitting your markers. You're not hitting your goals. You're just throwing dice in the air, hoping to land on a 6. Like, so, this is why you categorize these things periodically throughout the months, throughout the weeks. Look at them, all that good stuff. Next, you want to make sure that you're setting aside money for taxes. Yeah. Taxes is inevitable. It is. You can help bring down your tax bill with strategy. There's even some strategies for tax avoidance, but there's always going to be some sort of a tax bill. Okay, like you don't just go on and like pay 0 taxes for the rest of your life. That's not how it works. Okay, you're gonna pay taxes. It's just trying to pay as little as possible. The only amount paying to the IRS what you have to pay versus overpaying the IRS. That's the big strategy. How do I pay as little as possible? There is no, I haven't paid taxes in 15 years. Nah. That's not how it works. Okay. So you want to make sure that you're setting aside money for taxes because you don't want to hit tax season. You're like, ooh, I got $11,000 bill. I have a $20,000 bill. I have a $30,000 bill. I don't know where that money's coming from. Well, you should have had a tax account that had the money allocated specifically for taxes so that you don't have to stress to try to figure out, oh my gosh, where am I going to find the money to support these taxes? All right. Next is sales tax. Sales tax is big because sales tax is based on the income that's generated. It's not based on like after expenses. So you're the middleman, okay? You're the middleman between the Department of Revenue and the consumer, your customer. All you're doing is collecting the money from your customer and giving it to the Department of Revenue, which means when that money hits your account, it is not your money. So that 7.5%, if you're in Duval County, that you're charging your customer sales tax on, that is not your money. Don't go spending it on supplies, baby, because the Department of Revenue will definitely come knocking. They're not having to regulate taxes for millions of people like the IRS are. They're just regulating the taxes for that county, for Duval County. So in whatever county you're in, the Department of Revenue there. So their amount of business owners that they're going after is a lot smaller, which means they can sort through who's back on their taxes a lot quicker than the IRS. So instead of you waiting on years from the IRS telling you owe taxes, the Department of Revenue can get you that letter within a month, 2 months, telling you that you owe sales tax. And it could be a very sticky situation. With between liens, they can definitely freeze your accounts and everything. So make sure you are just the middleman. Okay, make sure when you collect that 7.5%, whatever. If you're in the real estate game, make sure that you're remitting those taxes as well. The transient tax. You are just the middleman. Collect it. Don't spend it. Send it right to the Department of Revenue and out of sight, out of line, because it's a sticky situation to be in. Okay. Internal controls. All right. Implement internal controls. What does this mean? So your internal controls is your procedures, your policies, things that you put in place so that you can prevent fraud, any fraudulent transactions, any fraudulent occurrences that happen that may happen to your business, um, putting safeguards, making sure that you have a secure portal, making sure that you have your SOPs, your policies and procedures laid out for your employees. How is your termination policies whenever somebody leaves your company? How are you hiring people? Do you have an employee handbook? These are parts of your internal control. Like, being in business is not, oh, I'm gonna wake up one day, I'm in business, I'm ready to be a business owner because, oh my gosh, why not? I just can't stand working for the man. No, that's not reason enough. Because when it comes to making sure that you implement these different things, there are a lot of things that you have to make sure that you're ready to put in the work for when you're going to be in business. And one of the big things that gets negated is implementing proper internal controls. You don't have the proper internal controls. So now somebody can't work for your company and they stole one of the people um, the products, or they never delivered the product to the employee, or they never dropped off the receipts or whatever, and now you have a big fire to put out because you didn't have their internal controls. I understand, as a new business owner, you're always doing edits, you're always changing these things, but making sure you have the basics in place is crucial. um Next thing is making sure that you have your financial policies in place. So this is how your financials, whether it's for your employees or your actual operations, are going to flow. And generally, if you have an accountant and things like that, they'll help you with creating this, or you can, I guess, peruse the internet and find one. But your financial policies is gonna essentially line out what your accounting policies and procedures are. Okay. And you can look up one that's, an example of one, a template of one online, and make sure that you actually have one. Um, the next thing I want to go over is invoicing. So, invoicing for my business owners. I actually did have a business owner that spoke to me, and they're like, "Hey, how do I set up where they reoccurring payments?" That's not the words she used, but she was like, "I want to set up reoccurring payments with my business, but I'm not really sure how to do it. Like, I don't know, how do I get started with that? Like, I want to make sure that I have them on a subscription, things like that." And essentially making sure that, hey, you have the right software to do that. But also, once you put your client's information in the software to automatically draw payment, that you actually have an authorization form. Because if you just say, "Oh yeah, give me your account and routing number, or give me your credit and debit card number," and you put their information in the system without them signing authorization, then they can actually go back and fight all those, beat all those charges that you charge them, because you didn't get an authorization form signed saying that it was okay for you to draw that amount of money every month out of their account, or every week, or however your subscription is going. So you want to make sure that you have a bank authorization form that allows you to draw money from their account. When you're depositing money into people's accounts, you want to make sure you have a direct deposit authorization form. So whenever you're dealing with people's money, you want to make sure that you have authorization signed, okay? That they said it was okay. They gave you this information, they signed it, they said it was okay, they agreed to the terms. It's okay that Wadleen takes out $500 at every first of the month, you know, and they sign for the next year, or until I write a notice saying I want to cancel, or however you want to set it up. But you want to make sure you have an authorization form before you start drawing money out of people's accounts and all that. Tax laws, staying up to date on your tax laws. The biggest and best way to do so is, well, two. Make go ahead and subscribing to the IRS's newsletter. There's a lot of information that comes out in that, y'all. I could be very confusing. Do I recommend it for real? Probably not, because they'll throw a lot of information at you and you're gonna be like, what? But a great way is making sure that you follow, subscribe, connect with knowledgeable individuals like myself. I do have a group called Sipping Wealth and Cash Flows, and you know, look up Sipping Wealth on Facebook, and one of the groups, it'll pop up. But it's like Sipping Wealth, Cash Flows, and something like that. But in that group, we post two tax tip every week, poll questions. We post tax guidances, financial tips. Like there is so much information. If you search the group for whatever you're thinking about, there's probably information on that. There's just so much information in that group. Check it out. Join it. Join our newsletter. Um, Join these lives. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, Sipping Wealth. Share it with your friends, families, all that good stuff. The next I want to go over is inventory. And I'm coming. Oh, I'm running long. Hold on, y'all. I gotta drink some water. All right. Inventory. So when you're dealing with inventory, for my people that create different products, things like that, make sure that you are maintaining accurate records of your inventory. How much in supplies are you purchasing? How much did you actually use? What does your cost of goods look like? Supplies, your labor costs associated directly with those goods, things like that. So you want to make sure that you are tracking inventory. One, it's going to help you with waste and lost inventory. And so it's going to ultimately help you save money. Next is going to help you with making sure that you know exactly how much you are able to generate and projections. And also allows you with goal setting and projections, things like that, because you know that, hey, if I purchase 50 of these bottles, I may have 2 of them waste. Generally, if I sell 48 of them, I'll make this amount of money, and to help you with, making those doing those strategies. Other thing I want to hit on is pricing. Make sure that you're revamping your pricing, but that your pricing is actually competitive with the market or your industry, and that you're actually profitable. So, and make sure that when you're considering your pricing, Wawa, hey, I know it could only be like a very few people. I feel like it's eating. But hello. Edie, is that you? But yes. If you it is. See? Hey Edie. What's up? Okay. I was about to say something, but I'm not gonna do it on this live. Lord, okay. Pricing. You want to make sure when you're considering the pricing, you are actually providing the value that backs whatever price you're charging. Because baby, y'all be out here charging $500 for $100 worth of value. Like, come on, let's be for real. I understand, groceries are expensive, but you want to make sure that you're actually providing stuff of value, that it matches what you're pricing it at. And then the other part is, don't be afraid to charge your value. So a lot of business owners are scared. Maybe you haven't done a pricing increase in a few years. Or maybe you did a pricing increase and it was like $5 because you was like, and it's still not competitive with the market, but you're like, oh, I don't want to lose my customers and clients. I don't know. You'll be surprised. If people like what you have to offer, you may lose a few, stragglers here and there. But, if you're growing your brand, you're elevating, you're providing additional value, you're doing your thing, make sure that your pricing reflects that, because that's going to help you stay in business and remain profitable. We have so many businesses that start up and they're not able to stay in business because they were not profitable. They were running in the negatives because they just really wanted to help the people and they were just undercharging. So yeah. The other thing is make sure your employees are trained. Make sure you are backing up your information, your files from your cloud server to your secured portal. Make sure that stuff is backed up. That is heavy because y'all know technology is faulty. And then make sure that you're planning for growth. And the last thing is make sure that you are seeking professional guidance. Okay, make sure that you're actually sitting down with an accountant. I tell my accountants, hey, we have a la carte services. If you're like, hey, I can't afford a monthly retainer right now, but I want to sit down with an accountant. Do a one time sit down. Sit down for a strategy session, figure it out. Say, hey, I'm going to make sure once a quarter I sit down with an accountant to figure my stuff out. I sit down once a quarter to get myself back on track. I sit down once a quarter to address some of my financial matters concerns. I sit down once a quarter so I can strategically plan for growth in my company. Come on, y'all. Like you're gonna have to make sure that you're doing these things so you can get to the next level, so you can stay in business. I even had a client. They're like, oh yeah, they had to close down their home health agency. Which, if you know, in the home health agency arena, their overhead is relatively low. For you to be like in a position where like, oh my gosh, I have to close down, like you have to figure out the financial concerns or whether some internal controls that you don't have in place that is really affecting the business, especially if you're in a service-based business. You have to figure out, okay, why you're not profitable. All right, y'all, that's it. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Sipping Wealth Live. Make sure that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel Sipping Wealth. Hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any financially lit, any so that you don't miss out on any other Sipping Wealth lives. And then next week I am going to cover a brand new topic that I don't have available right now, but you will see the promotion for it. And again, make sure that you are tuned in every Tuesday at 6 p.m. where I bring you news, tips, and tricks on how to wealth up. All right, y'all. Have a great evening.